Hi guys, welcome back to the Jesus and K podcast, and today we're going to be talking about how to fast. And I'm really excited about this topic because I feel like God helped me get some really good intel on it, and did some research. So I feel like it's going to be pretty good, pretty juicy. So yeah, how do we fast? I want to start by saying fasting is abstaining from food for spiritual reasons. So right off the bat, fasting is basically just not eating for spiritual purposes, as in like getting closer to God, hearing God's voice, fasting for someone else to get closer to God, so on and so forth, things like that, okay? I want to read to you guys Matthew 4:4. It says, Jesus answered, "It is written, man shall not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God." So straight off the bat, fasting isn't cutting off social media, isn't cutting off screen time, and isn't cutting off some piece of food or drink. Not saying that isn't good though. It's good to cut off social media and screen time. Sometimes you're on your phone too much, your computer too much, tablet too much, you're not socializing as much as you should. Cut it off. If you need to cut off screen time, cut it off. That's good. And if you need to cut off if you need to cut off food, like you drink too much soda, okay, I'm gonna stop drinking soda as much, blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna stop eating chips all the time, blah, blah. That's good. But when you fast, when actual fasting is basically feeding your spirit. I was gonna say flesh. Feeding your spirit with the word. Okay. Actual fasting isn't just cutting off your phone. It's abstaining from food for spiritual reasons. Okay. So when you fast, you can feed your spirit with the bread, which is the word, instead of feeding your flesh with actual earthly food. Okay. And another thing, fasting and prayer has to be combined. Fasting and prayer has to be combined. Why? Because fasting without prayer is not fasting. I'm going to say that again. Fasting without prayer is not fasting. So you must make time for God whenever you are fasting. If you just fast and don't spend time on your word, don't pray, don't praise and worship God, listening to worship music and praise music, you don't spend time with God at all, you're not fasting, you're starving yourself. You're not fasting, you're starving yourself. Again, when you fast, you have to feed your spirit instead of feeding your flesh. So the reason we abstain from food is because instead of eating earthly things, we're gonna eat spiritual things. Again, the word, prayer, worship music, singing to God, talking to God, things like that. That is what fasting is, and that is how you fast. You feed your spirit instead of your flesh. Okay, now there's 3 types of fasting. There's total fasting, absolute, and partial. Total fasting is no food, no water. Absolute fasting is no food, but you can drink water. And then partial fasting is you can eat certain foods and stuff. Okay, and fasting is something that can be done personal and cooperatively. Personal is basically just saying, I'm a fast to get closer to God. I'm a fast so I could hear God's voice more. I'm a fast for a reason for me, for me and God. And then cooperative fasting is like, I'm a fast for my cousin to get closer to God. I'm a fast for my friends, my parents, my aunt, I'm a fast for other people. That's what cooperative fasting is, okay? And then fasting is also a form of worship. What do you mean it's a form of worship? It's a form of worship because you're doing it for God. It's something you're dedicating for God. In a way, is the best way I can describe it. It's something you're doing for God, right? Okay, so I want to read to you guys a Bible verse. It says, first I want to talk about how a lot of people tend to be like, oh, well, I don't have to fast because it was actually, I only see it in the Old Testament. Fasting was something done in the Old Testament, but it also was something that was seen in the New Testament. Okay, an example from the New Testament, Jesus fasted for 40 days and for 40 nights. That's an example from fasting from the New Testament, okay? And from that, we can see how fasting sharpens our focus spiritually. Fasting sharpens our focus spiritually. We are more spiritually aware of things going around us when we fast correctly. Because obviously, instead of reading our word, guys, help me log in. Instead of eating earthly food, and we're reading our word, spending time with God, this X, Y, and Z, right? That, and we become more aware of spiritual things all around us. It helps us focus more on spiritual things around us. Sometimes it could make us more weak to spiritual things as well. But that's why it's important to stay locked in the word. When you feel an attack coming from the enemy during your fast, nope, going back to my word, nope, going to prayer, nope. You do something with God, because the enemy will attack you during your fast, because sometimes you do become weak during your fast. But do not let the enemy get to you, because you know that your God is stronger than anything else. I want to read to you guys Matthew 9:14-15. It says, "Then John's disciples came and asked him, 'How is it that we and the Pharisees fast often, but your disciples do not fast?' Jesus answered, 'How can the guests of the bridegroom mourn while he is with them? The time will come when the bridegroom will be taken from them. Then they will fast.'" Jesus expects his disciples to fast once he's seated at the right throne of the Father. So he expects us to fast because we are no longer with him. But he's only with us in spirit. That's why it says right here, "How can the guests of the bridegroom mourn while he is with them?" He was talking to his disciples right here while he was with them. But he's telling us the time will come when the bridegroom will be taken from them and they will fast. Okay? Jesus is at the right throne of the Father now. So he expects us to fast. He expects us to want to fast, to get closer to him, to hear his voice more, to do X, Y, and Z, or for other people. He expects us to do it. It's not just like, oh, I'm a Christian, but I don't fast, I don't have to do it. No, you should fast. You should fast. It is so important to fast, whether it's personal or a cooperative thing. I want to read to you guys now Matthew 6:16-18. I'm actually reading a lot of Matthew. I just realized, actually, that's all on me. Actually, I just realized that I'm just reading a whole bunch of Matthew. Anyways, Matthew 6:16-18. "When you fast, do not look somber as the hypocrites do, for they disfigure their faces to show others they are fasting. Truly I tell you, they have received the reward in full. But when you fast, put oil on your head and wash your face, so that it will not be obvious to others that you are fasting, but only to your Father who is unseen, and your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you." Guys, don't be like the hypocrites. Don't fast so other people can see you. Don't fast so other people be like, yeah, that's a strong, good Christian. Look at them fasting. You can see that they're fasting. Like they're going hardcore. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that, because that's going to be the only reward you get in full. That's literally what it says. Truly I tell you truly I tell you, they have received the reward in full. Don't fast for X, Y, and Z reasons, guys. Don't fast so you can get what you want in return. But fast out of purity, because you love God. Because truthfully, sometimes you won't get what you fasted for, because it's not in God's will, or it's just not, you're just not meant to receive it yet. And when I say not in God's will, because you're probably thinking, well, didn't you say so you're probably thinking like, oh, if I fast for me to get closer to God, how's it not in God's will? When I say not in God's will, I mean sometimes people fast for a job. I'm gonna fast for this job. Maybe it's not in God's will for you to get that job. Maybe it's not in God's will to get that job. Sorry, but it might be a high income, but maybe God has a bigger surprise for the higher income. You never know, So yeah, sometimes it's not in God's will. We had to remember that our heart posture to our fast should be God's will. It should be God's will. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. I love you. Jesus loves you. And I hope you have a beautiful morning, evening, day, or night.